All right, a lot coming up on the show tonight. A big show, as I said, exclusive interview with Israel's Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister, Sharri Markson, later, plus Miranda Devine coming up. But now let's jump straight into it with our panel. Labor legend Graham Richardson and filling in for Michael Kroger, Sky News host Caleb Bond. Welcome to you both. Now, I actually want to start with the fact that I'm being inundated with emails and messages from Australians who are stranded in Israel or their family members, and they're shocked that the Albanese government is doing almost nothing to help them evacuate the war zone. So the Albanese government rushed to bring Gazans here, but they aren't doing enough for Australian citizens in Israel. And I presume it would be the same for Australians who are in Iran. Richo, the government should be doing more, shouldn't they?
Yeah, the government should be doing more. I think there's an obvious gap here where that needs to be filled and needs to be filled quickly.
Caleb, this is a highly dangerous war zone. I mean, it's pretty irresponsible of the Albanese government. You know, my friend Joel Burney from AJAC, he's managed to get two groups of people out of Israel by evacuating them to Jordan, making sure they're met safely on the other side. The Albanese government's not doing that.
Yeah, and for those people, and I know a number of them who've been involved, it's been a bit of a traipse home, but that's part of the deal. I mean, it's not easy to get someone out of a war zone, but it's easier for a government to do it than it is for a private organisation to do it. Of course, airspace over Iran is pretty much closed at the moment. That's a different matter, but Israel is not. How hard can it be to get a few planes in there or to a nearby country like Jordan, get people over the border and get them out? If you really wanted to do it, you could do it. It takes logistics, it takes time, and it takes money. We've done it before. It's not like these options aren't available to us. So it doesn't. There's no obvious reason why you couldn't just do it now. Send the planes over there, get it done, get them out there.
And they couldn't send them to Ben Gurion Airport because that is shut. But you're right. They could, of course, to Jordan or even potentially Egypt. But Jordan, I would say, is safer. Richo, just on the broader question of what I've been speaking about tonight, but the whole world is waiting to hear what Trump does. It does make sense for America to back in Israel just to finish the job, the last 10%, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I can't see a reason why we can't go along that line. Look, we muck around with these things too much. What it requires is decisive people who make big decisions and make them quickly. Not easy to do, but must be done.
No, indeed. Well, perhaps not easy for some to do. Caleb, why is the Albanese government so out of step with the rest of the world here? I mean, they can't praise Israel. They're finally using some harder language against Iran, but they're certainly not endorsing Israel's campaign, not explicitly.
I feel like they've been caught on the hop almost because, of course, we know that the attitude they've taken to the war throughout the entirety of this war. And so you come to a point like this, which is a pretty clear moral decision to be made for anyone in the West, which is that Iran, in one way or another, should not be able to have nuclear weapons, and that for the greater good of the entire world, let alone the West, it should not be allowed to have nuclear weapons. And I feel like Penny Wong and Anthony Albanese have reached a point now where they feel like if they were to say, well, actually, Israel is doing something good for the world now, it would negate everything else they have said throughout the war. And so they find themselves in this difficult position of thinking they have to be consistent in everything they've said to this point. You know, they can admit, look, we haven't been on board with Israel the whole time, but on this point specifically, we agree with what they are doing, which is for the benefit of the West. If they can't even concede that, it is absolute weakness, which probably goes to part of the reason. It is
absolute weakness.
It goes to part of the reason that Donald Trump didn't want anything to do with it.
Exactly. And on that point, Richo, I mean, we know Trump skipped his meeting with Albanese to deal with Israel and Iran. That's understandable. But now we hear that India's Narendra Modi got a phone call from Trump, so did Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum. No phone call for Albanese. So, Richo, this is just further humiliation, isn't it?
Yeah, I wish I could describe it in a better way, but no, I think it is pretty humiliating. And I hope we can get through this difficult period of relations with the US, because it's not helpful to anything. We rely on them for so much,
Yeah.
and you can't take them for granted. You've got to handle them very carefully.
Well, Richard, now Albanese is talking about, possibly a meeting on the sidelines of NATO. Well, Richard, why can't he just visit Washington? I mean, is it the case that Rudd seriously can't actually get a meeting in Washington, in the Oval Office?
Well, it might be possible. I mean, Rudd's a very unpopular character everywhere. So, and he has insulted personally the United States president, which is a dumb thing to do, but he's done it, and that puts us in a pretty difficult position. Really, why have we got somebody in there as an ambassador who can't talk to the president at any time? Why have we got that? Like, it's what Australia needs is an ambassador who can knock on the president's door and get straight in. That's what Australia needs, because that's the importance of the friendship and of being allies.
Yep.
But it ain't working.
I completely agree with you, and I even broke the story that Rudd had called Trump a village idiot, and yet I think you could have the best possible ambassador there. I mean, Scott Morrison or Greg Norman could be the ambassador, and I still think now the problem is Albanese and Penny Wong's foreign policy, the fact that it is so removed from anything the US would stand for, so removed from our own values. Wouldn't you agree with that, Caleb?
I think so. And of course, something we often ignore with Kevin Rudd, notwithstanding the fact that he has insulted Donald Trump before, is that there are many people within the Republican Party who respect him for his knowledge on China and have actually sought his knowledge on China. So there are people who could tap Donald Trump on the shoulder and try through Rudd to organise these sorts of things. But when it comes to Albanese, I think Trump is trying to manoeuvre him quite cleverly on the matter of defence spending. And the longer he draws this out, the longer he makes Albanese wait, the more he will make Albanese sweat. And so when they finally get into a room, whether it be on the sidelines of NATO or in the White House, which is where he should be, I mean, for heaven's sake, the Prime Minister is in Canada right now. Why can't he pick up the phone and organise a meeting at the White House in the next few days? He's in the region, but when Trump finally gets him in a room, he wants to have made him sweat long enough that he can get some concessions out of the man.